Welcome to the Hollywood Raw YouTube page, guys. We're happy to have you here. Make sure you like, subscribe, leave us comments, do all the stuff.
What are you waiting for? Let's go. I got a drug addiction to feed.
Welcome to the Hollywood Raw podcast, where we cover all aspects of the pop culture Hollywood world. My name is Adam Glyn. Over there is Dax Holt. We got a good show for you today. We got Eriq Gardner from Puck News. He was formerly at the Hollywood Reporter, but he's the man over at Puck News. He covers everything, kind of all the legal kind of cases in Hollywood. So I'm really interested in talking to him, and he could kind of explain to us what the actual strike is about. The actor strike, the writer strike is going on. You see all the photos every day. What is going on? What's the latest? How long it's going to go for? And more. Dax, did you ever? I hated covering courts.
I didn't like it either. It's tough. It's a grind. The legal terminology, when you're inside the court and you're like frantically writing notes down because you have to call back to the office to be like, okay, this is what they sentenced this person for. And you're like, but I hope I wrote down the right word, but it was all going out so quickly, and how long the sentence is, or, what is part of the probation. Like, there's so much in a lot of court cases. They won't even let you bring in a recorder or anything to tape what it is. So you're trying to frantically write down information, and not being someone who has any legal background, I am like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. So I haven't done courts in years and years and years, but I did not enjoy it. Yourself?
I hated it, especially being a camera guy. You had to find out which door they're going in, which door they're coming out. You had to follow them on the way out because you can't use your camera in the courtroom. Yeah. The other thing was you had to fight with other camera guys. For some reason, journalists feel like if a celebrity comes out of court, or if it's a high-profile person coming out of court, they all need to bunch up together and just throw the camera. You see those videos. The camera's going crazy of trying to get the shot of them walking out of court. It's like, guys, they're just walking. We could give them plenty of space. We don't need to be all up on them. And it adds
Unless it's Cardi B, because she's had some really good court exits.
Yeah.
She's probably my favorite court exiter.
But I think it also adds to the allure of showbiz. I think that's what media outlets like. They want to see the craziness. Like, hey, make it look crazy. Start bumping into each other and fighting over the shot, because it adds to the excitement of the news story. I've covered so many court cases from, Alec Baldwin. It brings me PTSD when I talk about it, because I hated it so much.
Yeah.
The courts are gross.
It's not fun.
They're gross.
And this is someone, and Eriq, who we're having on today, this is like his normal thing. Like, he does a lot of court cases. He covers it all. He's been doing it for years. So he must have a different appreciation for court. But he also has a legal background. That's the difference.
Yeah, for sure. Before we get to Eriq, when you guys leave us a review, we actually read it on the air. It's the easiest thing for you to do. It's the easiest way to support us. Go to the podcast app, for example, on iTunes. Go to the podcast app on your iPhone if you have an iPhone. Put in Hollywood Raw. Go all the way to the bottom, and you'll see a place where you can leave a review, and you can leave 5 stars, say a few kind words, give us 5 stars, and we'll actually read your review live on air. Dax, do you have a review ready for us?
Yep, here's one. Oh boy, this is a lot of reading. Okay, here we go. 5 stars from Embry M. The best, most addicting podcast. This is hands down my favorite podcast. I've listened and stayed current every week for the past 2 years and love Adam and Dax so much. I went back to 2018 and started listening to every pod they've ever recorded from Hollywood Pipeline until now. The interviews they've done are incredible, real, honest, and insightful and fun, and have made me a fan of people I don't know much about or had a different view of based on reading headlines over the years. I jump to listen to everything or anything they release, and it never disappoints. These guys work so hard and deserve all the continued success. Holy shit balls.
Very nice.
Maybe one of my favorite reviews ever, Embry.
So nice, so cool, so appreciated. Keep the reviews coming in. Again, it's the best thing to do to support this podcast. On to today's guest, Dax. Tell me about our guest today.
Hold on, I'm titling this review real fast because I have them in there. I titled it Incredible Review. All right. So first off, I want to, for people that haven't heard of Puck, just so they know what we're talking about, Puck is a platform. it's a new website for smart, engaging, sometimes I don't want to say trashy, dishy journalism. It's owned and operated by journalists themselves. And so when we say Puck, you guys will know. But our guest today is a former journalist for The Hollywood Reporter, now one of the founders of Puck News, covers all their legal affairs. Eriq Gardner, welcome, buddy.
Thank you for coming on the podcast. I know we're going back and forth on Twitter for a while, which you're a fun follow on Twitter. But I want people first to know your background before we get all into it. You were at Hollywood Reporter, and now you're at Puck News, which I love what you guys are doing at Puck. It's just a really fun, smart, just cool way of kind of telling us the news, and it's all ran by journalists, which is by yourself. But I just want to know your coming of age, so people are familiar with you. How did you get your start in the industry to what exactly you do now?
Sure. Well, I've been a journalist my entire career. I went to school for journalism. Back in the day, when I got into journalism, there was a particular breed of journalism that was pretty hot, which was business technology. And I was getting out of school, and a lot of editors were desperate for reporters. I had freelance for some national magazines, and some editors were calling me up, not even knowing that I was still a student, and offering me jobs. And so I was lucky, and lucky in some respects because I quickly got off my feet after I was a student. Unlucky in other respects because this was the time of the .com bust, so to speak. So I quickly had to navigate myself, which I did, and I started getting into legal journalism, which I found that I had a pretty good knack for. And then I bounced around, did a bunch of different high-profile magazines, New York Magazine, Slate, Bloomberg. Eventually getting to Hollywood Reporter, where they needed someone versed in legal stuff, and I was always very into entertainment and media, so it was a perfect fit.
That's awesome. How I mean, are you literally using your law knowledge every single day? Because listen, there's a lot of reporters out there. There's not a lot that actually know the ins and outs of law, and I got to tell you how many times Adam and I talk about on here, and we're like, God, I just wish I knew a little bit more about law right now while covering this story, because I feel like I could give just a little bit more insight. So are you using it literally on a daily basis?
Absolutely. And I use it in so many different ways, some ways that are not always even apparent. I mean, obviously, the most apparent way is when I cover stuff and I'm able to explain something that's happening legally and break it down and almost, translate what's in a different language into English so that, the lay reader can understand the dense stuff that's happening. But what other people don't see from day to day is how I navigate the judicial bureaucracy, how I go through it, how I find stuff, how I know when stuff is filed. Sometimes it requires intervention in the courts, advocating for more transparency. I've worked with specialists to open up arbitration outfits to make them disclose more stuff. So there's a lot of stuff that goes into the work that I do. And I'm absolutely using it on a day-to-day basis. I don't know if I ever imagined that I would be doing this per se growing up, but I'm glad I did because
none of us knew we'd be talking about celebrity stuff all day long, every day. It's ridiculous. Eriq, I did want to ask, you just mentioned something where you have to basically dumb down a story for the common reader. Can you dumb down the actor strike for people out there? Why this is such a big deal? And I want to say actors and writers, but why this strike is number one so important, but maybe
what is happening?
Detail. Yeah, give us the layman's term of what's happening.
Well, there aren't too many industries in I guess in this world, in America especially, where it's completely unionized. The only other major industry in America besides entertainment that I could say this about is sports, where collective bargaining, where workers go in, and every few years there's a set process to negotiate the terms and conditions of their employment. The special thing about entertainment is you create something, but then it has this legacy that lives on. You create a movie, but it's shown on TV, it's shown on streaming, and so they have to figure out a way to compensate the creators for all these downstream exploitation of their work. And so should it be 5% or 7% or whatever. So every 3 years, the different guilds, the different unions get together with the trade association that represents the producers, and they negotiate these sorts of things. They negotiate like how much compensation there is for something that plays on cable television, for instance. The hot new issue right now is AI. Should there be rules of the road for using creations for artificial intelligence? So these sorts of things get negotiated, and most cycles there isn't that much of a friction. They come to an easy agreement, but this one was always going to be tough because 3 years ago, during the last cycle, COVID had just started and nobody wanted to disrupt everything. So all the issues that they had 3 years ago were kind of like kicked down the road. So what we have is kind of like pent up frustration from both sides, and a lot of distance between both sides, because a lot of stuff that they had been holding on to were just kicked to this cycle, and now they have a lot of stuff to work through.
So right now, is the end near by any chance?
There was a glimmer of hope, I would say, a week or two ago, when after many weeks where there was not even discussions with each other, the writers and the studios had started negotiating again, and the studios put forward what they thought was a pretty good offer. They moved a little bit, but whatever optimism there was from that has kind of gone by the wayside right now, because the writers rejected it. The studios made the offer public to say, hey, how come the writers aren't taking this, which wasn't a good sign. The writers didn't like that strategy. So, most people I talk to still think that there might be some settlement in the next couple of months, but if it drags on to next year, no one's going to be surprised either.
Wow. That's going to be, so what is that, with the strike going on, how does that jeopardize? Is it, how's it going to affect us, the audience? Are we just not going to see new content? Is people going to be out of work? What are some of the
repercussions?
Yeah, repercussions of all this.
I think people will begin to start noticing it. Right now, no one's noticing it because there's such a backlog of content. Things aren't produced for months ahead. They're produced for years ahead. But certainly, things are going to start drying out on your whatever streamer you subscribe to. A lot of the big name tentpole films have been pushed. For instance, like the sequel to Dune, that was supposed to come out this autumn. It's been pushed to next summer. A lot of the big films are being pushed. Why? Not necessarily because they're not done, but part of the rules for how these actors strike is that they can't do promotion for these works. And so if you're a movie studio and you're releasing a big film, you depend on these stars to go out and promote the films. And so none of these studios want to release their big stuff because they've spent hundreds of millions of dollars on it, and if they can't get the promotion from the big stars, then they're worried about the financial ramifications of that. So certainly I think we're going to start seeing content dry up. yeah, I mean, it's a big part of the California economy. I mean, there's estimates that this, strike is costing billions of dollars in economic progress. So it's definitely becoming more and more noticeable.
But when do you think will be that moment when us as viewers and the people on the other side are like, oh shit, like there is nothing out there. Like there's no movies being released. There's not, like, when will that hit us?
I think that there are the specific things is, say like, with the Emmy Awards gets canceled. I think people will notice that. I think, people expecting, the new season of Stranger Things or something, all of a sudden, like, will get frustrated that it's not coming out. Then they'll start seeing the actors and they'll be in their 30s. So, yeah, I mean, I think it varies for each individual depending on, how much they
What they're
consume
watching.
what they're watching, how much they consume entertainment. A lot of people might be, so into the, the new football season that they might not notice anything. Other people,
And I saw that
go to the movies each week. So,
And I saw there was a story that came out recently about how, like, the movie Priscilla, they got some kind of agreement so that their stars could walk a red carpet because it was shot in Canada. Now, are we going to see more of these little, like, deals go through where, oh, because of where it's shot, these actors are allowed to walk a red carpet, but other actors aren't? Like, are they just trying to find loopholes for getting on the red carpet and stuff?
Not loopholes per se. Certainly, a lot of the strike rules pertain to major studio work that's inside the United States, but independent productions that happen outside this country are beholden to different rules, or you could get exemptions from that. That's always been the case. That was the case back in, I think it was 2009, the last time there was a big strike in Hollywood. So that's why certain streamers like Netflix are in better positioned to weather the strike because they have a lot of foreign content coming in.
Yep. Gotcha.
Yeah, you did. Well, you were part of a story. The title of the story was "Will AI Eat Hollywood?" How is Hollywood using AI, and what are the fears? I mean, why is everyone so afraid of AI? I mean, is it going to be in your opinion? Is it going to be beneficial, or is this going to be affecting obviously actors' work because they're not going to be needed as much? How's it going to change the
I
industry?
think it's the writers that get more affected than the actors.
Right. It really depends on who we're talking about because Hollywood's not just one entity. It's a collective of different interests. From a studio perspective, they use AI a couple different ways. Right now, they're using AI to in post-production for special effects and making things a little cheaper and easier to do. They're also starting to dabble in the use of AI for programming purposes, figuring out like what it is they should produce. I think that the main worries, you hear about are, first of all, writers, their scripts being fed into, ChatGPT or whatever, and a new script coming out. I don't think anyone is quite ready to go that far in Hollywood. But that is the concern for them. As for actors, they're concerned about deep fakes and this simulation of their voices and their images. And it's kind of interesting to me because I think that AI is one of those issues that has the power to kind of divide the actors because it means different things for different actors. If you're Tom Cruise or Jennifer Lawrence or a big name star, AI might mean the ability for you to license your image and name and to basically, do as many projects as you want. Right now, the thing that's holds you back from accepting every job is your time and the fact that you can only be in one place at one time. But if, a technology comes along where all you have to do is, sign your name and, allow your likeness to be used in some controlled manner, they might be interested in doing that. And doing that
That's
might take
actually What a fascinating
Yeah.
way to think about that. I did not even process that. I was stuck on the writing aspect and how you could literally put in, give me a 2-hour movie script of a horror movie where spiders attack a village and it pops it out. But I didn't think about actors, and little actors clearly would not want that. Like, they want to be on camera. They want to utilize their talent. The big actors, wow, like using Tom Cruise. We already know Tom Cruise deep fake. Like, that guy looks just like Tom Cruise, who we see all over social media. But him being able to do 20 movies a year because he signs off the rights to his image, his voice, all of that stuff, that is fascinating. But then, like, okay, now award shows come around. If someone was deep faked through a whole movie, can they still be up for an award? No, because they didn't actually act, right? Like, that's crazy.
I mean, if I was Morgan Freeman, what I'd be doing is setting up a company and just licensing my voice for voiceovers. I mean, this stuff is coming along, and it's going to take work from just the normal, run of the mill actors. So I think from an acting perspective, it gets really complex and difficult. But I'm sure a few years down the line, we're going to start seeing a movie that's written by a bot, that's directed by a bot, starring digital likenesses and all that. Someone will experiment with it.
And Adam, just to be clear, if I could do AI on me right now, I would. I'm just letting you know. I love hanging out with you, but I would 100% license off my voice and image.
I don't blame you. How much does it, Dax? You might know the answer, and I don't know. Just how much does it cost? Obviously, the Screen Actors Guild is on strike. How much does it cost to be in the Screen Actors Guild a year? Do you guys know?
I remember it was like a couple. It depends on how much money you make. That's number one, because you're paying dues based on your income. But for someone who doesn't make a lot of money, you're paying a couple $100s to be a part of SAG. At least SAG is what I know of. And then depending on how much you make, you pay a percentage of that into SAG.
That's correct.
But
you also get health insurance and everything like that. So it's not, it's a deal.
Yeah, it's so funny. One time I was walking by the Writers Guild. Was it Writers? No, the Actors Guild. And I saw Gabby from, is that her name? The girl from 90210, the head of.
Yeah, she's the president. Yeah.
Yeah, she's the president. I just saw her outside, she was like just asking people to petition. And I was like, wait, what are you doing here? Like, it's kind of surreal when you see them as a real person and serving.
But that is a real job that takes up a lot of time when you are the president of SAG. I mean, you are representing all the actors out there from A-list to Z-list. It's a big role to take on. And a lot of well-known actors, are, I don't want to say apply, but are a part of the voting process to become the president.
So back in the day, Ronald Reagan was the president of SAG.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's right.
Yeah.
That's so. But when you serve as the president of SAG, so right now it's the nanny, it's Fran Drescher. Does she take a salary as that position?
I don't think there's a salary attached to it, but I could be wrong about that. I have to check. But it is very political. They hold elections over this, and they have different parties within SAG that one's a hardliner party and the other is a kind of moderates, and it's incredible. I mean, there's it really is a process.
Yeah.
So I want to get onto a story that we were talking about earlier, or I guess a couple days ago on our Raw Rundown, that has been a really big story that Puck News actually broke and has been talking about, was this Scooter Braun story. And a bunch of his artists kind of leaving his realm. We're talking Demi Lovato, Idina Menzel. There was rumors going around about Justin Bieber and Ariana Grande and all these people. Can you catch us up to speed on what the truth is, what's happening? Because there's just so many conflicting stories going on out there that I want to know what you guys know.
Right. I personally, I don't know. I'm like everyone else. I'm tuning in. I think it's really interesting and lots of good rumors. I don't know why exactly everyone is leaving Scooter right now. I know that there are some issues. I know that he has a personality, let's say, that isn't to the liking of many people. He's rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. So it's not quite surprising to me that he's having this moment. On the other hand, his people are pushing back and saying, oh, he's just moving on to different, new, bigger, better things. But obviously he's having trouble right now. And yeah, that's about
My
all
thing
I
is
know.
is it actually trouble, or is it just reorganizing? Because what we talked about was he is now moving to the CEO role in his company, so he can't do that day-to-day managing. So it's not so much that Justin is not going to be managed by him; he just won't be one-on-one managed by him. At least that's kind of what we've heard. But I was just saying if you had any more insight, if they're not so much exiting as restructuring.
From all I know, this is an exit. It might be being spun as a restructure at the moment, and
Okay.
and everything like that. But a lot of it's being done, just to as a favor, But I think a few months from now, it'll become apparent that a lot of these artists are at different houses. That would be my guess. But we'll see.
Can
It's
you
interesting.
yeah, can you explain us everything that's going on in the Blind Side story? Where does this family stand with this guy? What's the latest? Is it actually going to go to court? Because he's in book promo mode, so I don't know
Sure.
what part to follow.
Right. So the conservatorship was established in 2004, and right now there's a petition to basically unwind the conservatorship and as well as an accounting. Tell us all the money that is there, all the money that you made off of his name and likeness, and then maybe distribute the money. So that's what's going on in somewhere. I think it's Tennessee. But it's a really sad situation. I also think that it's a misunderstood situation because the petition was filed and a lot of people got the idea that the family was trying to take advantage of him because of this movie. And that doesn't really make sense to me because the conservatorship was established in 2004. The book, The Blind Side, Michael Lewis's book, didn't even come out to 2005. The movie didn't come out to 2009. He wasn't drafted until 2009. So there's no possible way that they established the conservatorship knowing that, Hollywood
There's
was
going
going
to
to
be a
make
movie.
some
Yeah.
Oscar-winning movie that would make hundreds of millions of dollars. The sad part of the situation, however, is the fact that, if it's true that he thought he was being adopted and he wasn't, that he was, this conservatorship was going to be established over him, which basically ceded the control he had to make financial decisions for himself. That's a pretty sad situation, and I'm not sure why that was the choice that was made. Maybe we'll hear more about that. But yeah,
I didn't realize how wealthy the family was that brought in Michael Oher into their family. Like finding out that the dad had sold off his restaurant business for like $200 million, I would think that the movie money was probably nothing compared to his restaurant empire. So I can't imagine it being about the movie royalties because I don't think that would be very much.
Yeah, these were rich people when they first took in. To the extent that when Michael Oher committed to I think it was Mississippi State, the Tuohys were boosters there, and there was a whole investigation whether or not that this was all kosher, whether they had taken in this football player just to steer him to the university. That was the big controversy at the time. But they were definitely successful people. And the other thing I will say is that it's very rare to have a studio clue in the subjects of their biopics for profits. It doesn't happen often. Usually, if there is any deal, it's usually a flat fee for life story rights. A couple $100,000, mainly so that these people will cooperate on the publicity realm when it comes out, because you don't want the movie coming out and then the subject saying, oh, this didn't happen, this is all fake and all that because that ruins the good vibes of the movie coming out. But still, even so, studios are loath to give profits to anyone. So this is a pretty unusual situation to begin with.
So if we put our conspiracy hat on, Eriq, and we know Michael has talked very positive about the family in past books, in past moments, and now it has turned very negative. And he also has a book coming out right now. Could any of this be stemming from a publicity-driven angle to sell books?
I think it would be a very expensive press release and PR strategy if that was to happen. I'm not so cynical to think that is just an effort to steal books. But reading between the lines, I do wonder, what his financial situation is, because I mean, as an NFL player, he had to have made lots of money. So to go to court over this makes me wonder what happened to his money. What kind of financial state is he in? I don't necessarily think that it's a drive to sell books, but who knows? I mean, I have seen courts used for PR purposes in the past, but this would be kind of a strange one if that was the motivation here.
Dax, my first day at TMZ, I had to cover a court case, and it was, I forget what was going on. I think it was like a robbery or some sort. Or I don't know exactly what the case was about, but Kirsten Dunst, that's her name, right? Kirsten, we don't see her that much anymore. She was in court, and she had to go on the witness stand, and there was pretty much nobody in court. And to see her in the stand and to be her ask questions and had to testify in court was a very surreal thing to see. When you see an actress, especially a big actress like her, just being, had to be honestly truthful in court, had to be very serious, was like very weird to see. I'm sure you have, Eriq, you've had to go to a lot of court cases with celebrities. When you see the celebrity in the stand, what was like the wildest celebrity you've ever seen in the stands, and what was it like just being in the room with that?
You mean being in the courtroom?
Being in the courtroom, and obviously it's a high-profile case, and when you see the celebrity there, you're reporting it, but it's a very serious matter to see them. I'm not the type of person that thinks of celebrities as particularly different. I mean, my whole ethos in my career has always been the way you treat people is to treat the celebrities like regular people and to treat the regular people like celebrities. And that's how you get people to open up to you and everything like that. So when I see someone, of course I take notice. Oh yeah, that's that person. But I don't really, it doesn't register to me beyond that. Like, oh, here's this, famous person and, they're in this sad situation sort of thing. So, and it just depends on the situation. I remember, being in court, for example, the Johnny Depp, Amber Heard stuff. And, you could see the emotional toll of that situation on those involved. And then there are other instances where, people look bored and they're only there because their lawyer told them that they had to be.
I thought the Johnny Depp thing was crazy. Just seeing such a big star that I never thought I'd see on the stand getting cross-examined about crazy shit. Like that to me was one of the wildest court cases, just because of the content in it. Knowing that he was there, he wanted to go hit the stand. He wanted to speak up on his own behalf. Like, you just don't see that every day.
Absolutely. I mean, I wrote a pretty infamous column at the start of the trial where it was basically directed towards Johnny Depp, saying like, "What the hell are you doing here? You're not. I just didn't see any positive outcome for him. Even if he went through the case and he won it and he won a few $1 million, I mean, in the end, he was going to be opening up his life to everyone." And so I didn't quite understand it. It is very rare to see,
but you understand it now, right?
star.
Like it did exactly what he wanted it to do.
Did it?
Yes.
I'm not sure about that. Look, I respect Johnny Depp and everything like that, but I mean, like, he hasn't had a big film. Hollywood
it's not about
film.
the film. I mean, he hasn't even had time to film anything new. Look at it. He is the face of Dior again, because he has now been kind of rectified. He is no longer the woman beater that he was before. Like that kind of cleared the air. And I think people are now welcoming him back into Hollywood. He can now be the face of a brand because he's not a pariah anymore.
I think he drew attention to the allegations. I don't think anyone would have thought he was a wife beater. I think like it would have been a few week story.
No way,
that
dude! She showed up out court with a black eye.
Yeah, maybe
he was fired from.
I'm being naive, but there are lots of celebrities that are accused of heinous things, and we forget about them in those allegations in a few weeks. And I think that he took a domestic drama and he made it like World War III. And
no way! What are you talking about, Eriq?
Yeah.
She was going out talking to everyone, making sure everyone knew that he was a terrible person and pushing that agenda. He was losing movie roles. He lost Pirates of the Caribbean. Like everything was vanishing from him. And I think that's when he got to the point of like, I need to prove that I am not what she is saying I am.
I think all of that is attributable to the bad attention that was brought after he sued her, not necessarily because of her allegations, but because of the lawsuit that brought attention to her allegations.
We will agree to disagree on this one because I think that his life, his career was going downhill because of all of her allegations, and he was like, "Fuck this! I can't stop. So I have to prove that I'm not what she says I am."
Mm-hmm. I mean, we could compare it to the Brad Pitt, Angelina Jolie situation. I mean, is Brad Pitt losing? Brad Pitt's not losing roles based on allegations in their marriage. And trust me, the allegations against him are in some ways worse than the allegations against Johnny Depp. But we don't think about it because in some ways Brad Pitt handled the situation a lot better than Johnny Depp did, at least in my opinion.
That's a good perspective.
I think it's a different perspective. I think that Angelina continued to throw gasoline on that fire because you could tell there was very personal information that kept getting leaked out from her side of the camp and he didn't take the bait as much. But I guess with all the stories that have come out, what do you think it was the worst allegation that Brad Pitt was hit with during all of that? That is worse than Johnny Depp throwing glass and there being all this domestic abuse allegedly going on.
I think child abuse is worse.
But I don't feel like there was necessarily. I don't feel like that was child abuse. I feel like there was a push, is what they claimed on the plane. That wasn't. Mm-hmm. I don't beat. Like Johnny Depp's was alleging that he like chucked his cell phone right at Amber's face, or there was physical. I think the kid being shoved on a plane or whatever they said at that point didn't sound like child abuse. It sounded like a pushing out of the way, not like they punched him and threw them to the floor. I don't know. I may be crazy here, but I think that Johnny lost a lot quicker.
Right.
Yeah. I want to I wanted to ask you, Eriq, though. You've covered Scientology. How is it like when you cover Scientology in court? Are these guys the best lawyers? Are you scared to even cover it because you're afraid people are going to be outside your door?
It's interesting. I've noticed Scientology leaders interested in what I do, but so far I haven't noticed, anyone stalking me or or hacking into my computer or anything along those lines. Everyone's been respectful. Their camp, their lawyers talk to me and everything like that. But I definitely have heard stories. It might just be that I'm not poking the bear as much as some other reporters with regard to Scientology. And also, I'd like to think that I'm a fair reporter. So there are instances, like a couple of weeks ago, Leah Remini filed a lawsuit against Scientology, and I wrote that while I respect Leah, I didn't think that her lawsuit was particularly a sound one, and so I think that they might see that and they say, well, at least this guy's playing fair for both sides and everything like that. As for who is representing them, I mean, it's kind of strange lawyers sometimes. I mean, sometimes they're on the periphery of the legal community, doing good stuff, but other times I just like, I don't understand how it is they're picking their lawyers, because they come out of strange places, and that's not to say that they aren't well lawyered. I think that they've had reasonable success in court, not tremendous great success, but reasonable enough that they've been able to kind of survive these last few decades.
Are the lawyers Scientologists? Do you know?
That's a great question.
Yeah, as far as I know, most of them are not. And I've asked, a couple of them, like why is it that you're representing them? And usually it's just
because they're a billion-dollar empire. That's
exactly
why I'm representing them.
They pay the bills.
But here's the thing: I thought that you can't you're not supposed to chat it up with people who aren't Scientologists. So how would they know their business, their inner workings of the church, if they aren't Scientologists?
Right. I think they get access to certain things, but not, everything. They learn what they need to know. That's it. I don't think that they get access to Theoden's inner secrets about the 17th level of existence or whatever it is.
Yeah, we don't talk about Scientologists here.
Or straight Kabbalah. Yeah, that's it. Why is Disney doing so bad right now? Because in my mind, I just think that Disney can ever have trouble. The parks are always in demand, or so I thought, but I'm seeing that they're not getting the traffic that they once did. Then you're seeing Bob Iger having issues with.
That's bullshit. There is not one time I ever go to Disney that I don't wait in ridiculously long lines. So they're definitely still getting the traffic to the park.
I'm not saying it's you, definitely, but why? Can you explain to us? I didn't know if it's something going on in the media. Not you, Eriq, but what is going on with Disney? Why are they having issue and trouble?
First of all, I think that most companies would envy Disney's position. So, they're doing good. It's just that they're such a big beast that they have problem areas. They, have a lot of debt. They've grown so large and have had, a bunch of different mergers that they've acquired a bunch of debt. Bob Iger, who's the CEO, has yet to identify a successor. The linear television market has been troubled, and so they have these assets like ABC that they're not exactly sure what to do with. ESPN is another one. These are big. They used to be cash cows for the company, and now there's real questions about what their future is. At the parks is maybe the line to the Star Wars attractions only an hour long right now, as opposed to 3 hours long. So I think it's doing relatively okay, and these things are cyclical. But yeah, overall, I think there's just kind of just existential questions hanging over the company right now.
I want to know, what is probably your wildest case you've ever had to cover in Hollywood news?
Oh, it's a good question. There are a few of them. First of all, the big series of cases when I first got into entertainment journalism was all the stuff emanating from Anthony Pellicano, the private eye who was spying for one half of the town on the other half. And there were all these things, he was working for Chris Rock and Tom Cruise, and he was tapping the phones of people like Sylvester Stallone. And it was just wild. And there was one case after another, and there were criminal proceedings. And that was basically my entry point into entertainment, and it kind of ripped the secrets off of the town and exposed a lot of sensitivities. So that was certainly wild. Next, I would say the Hulk Hogan Gawker case was a pretty
was this
big,
the sex tape
unusual
thing?
one. This was the sex tape one, the one that brought down Gawker. It had many twists and turns, stuff that I didn't understand at first, and then we later learned that there was a secret funder involved. But the testimony was salacious. It went to trial. It was a huge verdict. That was a pretty wild one. Industry wise, I thought the Blurred Lines case was also a big one that had many twists and turns, and when the depositions got out, and here were artists that were basically admitting doing drugs and lying to the press, and another case that went to trial, very colorful, and obviously the Depp Heard stuff and that, those would be kind of the highlights. But I'd be curious to know what you think. What's
the
been most
wildest
colorful for
story?
you? Yeah,
I think the wildest story I have ever covered was Bruce becoming Caitlyn, because it was so unpredictable, in my opinion, from covering the Kardashians for so many years, and Bruce's role, and watching this father figure who didn't want to be in the spotlight but was kind of forced to be there, and then watching the stories come out that I didn't believe, that Bruce had a closet full of dresses. I was just like, this is the biggest pile of bullshit I have ever read in my entire life. To when Bruce got the surgery, and there was a cut line on his neck at the time, and this is, I'm going back and I'm referring to as a him because this was years ago, and the cut line was there, and there was shaved Adam's apple, and I couldn't wrap my head around it until the photos, I think, when Bruce was wearing nail polish driving around, and I'm like, what the fuck is happening? Is this true? And then came out that she was now Caitlyn, and then everything switched, and I think that story just blew my mind because it was so different, and I don't know, it was just wild.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you were mentioning that and mentioning the Kardashians, those obviously were great stories too. And it also made me think of everything that was going on with Kanye West, because his was another saga that was just explosive, in terms.
And I would say, Britney's been 20 years of consistent news coming out, and not all of it good, obviously, but thinking back to that moment when she shaved her head and knowing exactly where I was when I got the phone call and sent the picture, that was crazy. The Tiger Woods story was incredible at the time, just because it was just every day there was something new, something different that was coming out. So I'd say those would be in my top wildest stories. What about you, Adam?
I'd probably go Caitlyn Jenner. There was the one that was the one that blew my mind. I think it was the Adam's apple, when the photo of her coming from a doctor's office, and this is when she was Bruce. I think you're just starting to. It was just like, what is going on here? You start to question if this was another Kardashian sort of spin, or if this was actually going on. So I think when you found out it was genuine, it was real. I agree with you, Dax. That was wild. And then mine were like sort of like celebrity deaths. I feel like mine was like Whitney Houston. I remember where I was, and that one just. And I was in New Jersey. I was at.
Are you crying right now?
No.
Thinking back?
No, I was just trying to think of where I was. I remember being in Newark for the. Dude, to be honest with you, it was so gross. This was so gnarly. We were in Newark for the funeral, not the burial, but actually the.
Are you talking of Whitney?
Of Whitney, and there was no place to go to the bathroom. I remember we're in this not great area, and people were charging to like go to the bathroom, like in the back property of lawns. I remember just seeing reporters just like peeing in lawns, and like it was just the oddest thing, dude. Like you're staked out because everyone was doing the shots, but it was just a very weird place to be. Like there's
how much would it cost to go take a piss in someone's backyard?
Guys were saying, hey, listen, if you want to go charge your phone, you want me to charge your phone, it's $20. I'll be back with your phone. And then like, do I actually think this guy's going to come back with my phone?
I want to know how much it was to take a pee in someone's yard.
I used a Gatorade bottle.
Oh my god.
And but it was just
secrets of the trade.
Yeah. No, but court case, man, I've done so many. It's hard to really think about it. Like I have to go through like an almanac or something, like where I was at that time. I've like you guys. I've been through battle. I've been through so many court cases where, Eriq, for me, I'm trying to get the shots when I'm in the New York courts, which rarely are you allowed to put cameras in New York courts. So what I would do is I would shoot the celebrity going into the court. Then I'd have to put my camera away, run up to like watch the court case go on. Then I had to run out and find out which door they're going to sneak the person out of. So it was like total like chaos. It was chaos. I've done that so many times, and the stress levels of making sure you get the shot and making sure like you get the shot instead of another outlet. And the cameras were like fighting each other for no reason just to get a shot. It like added to the appeal.
I hated court stuff because
dude, I hated it.
There's so many exits from a courthouse. I remember I was there for Michelle Rodriguez when she had her like DUI stuff back in the day, and I was in the courtroom, and then I was like, okay, it's wrapping up. Now I got to run downstairs, be outside, so when she comes out. But it's like they see you out there, they can take another exit. It's like that is one of the hardest things to cover is people entering and exiting courthouses. And like if it's at the downtown LA one, they've got like literally secret tunnels from the Disney concert hall where you park all the way over there and then take a secret tunnel in. It's like it's so hard to get people walking in and out of court.
Yeah, especially with like TMZ, where if you didn't get the shot, you were going to get yelled at. And it wasn't, you were going to be on more, your life was your job was on the line if you didn't get that shot. And it was so stupid. Like it could have been a worthless shot, but that's just how it was. It drove me crazy. How often are you in court?
These days I'm lucky enough that I get to pick and choose what I want
That's great.
to do. But I'm usually in court maybe once a week or so.
Are you?
A lot. Yeah.
Yeah, that's got to be a great feeling. What was the case in Hollywood that, since you see everything that goes in and out, is there one case that you saw that didn't get enough attention that you think deserved to be? There's like a wild story. Like one that goes to mind because I follow you on Twitter is the Bad Boy story, kind of on your Twitter, this about the rights of who wrote the story.
Mm-hmm.
It's an interesting story.
Yeah, I think that there are a lot of stories that are not told. One thing that people don't realize is that it's always been a cat and mouse game between lawyers and reporters. And, because of reporters like myself, I think, the industry has been using arbitration a lot more and more to hide stuff, especially in the movie industry. In music, you can, everything's out in the open. In the movie world, it's like very rare to see, open cases and everything like that. And family law stuff is the same way. It's just very, very closed. Certainly there are lots of situations where I wonder, like, why isn't this getting more attention and everything like that? I recently did a story about, Robert De Niro and his assistant that was, kind of flying under the radar. Or I did a story about Justin Theroux, who one of the actors on Leftovers and a bunch of other, and his neighbor, which I thought was absolutely hilarious. But so, there are situations that come up for whatever reason that get lost in the cracks, or they are covered. It's not so much that I think that there are situations that deserve more coverage. I think that a lot of times reporters will focus on the beginning and the end of a case, when a lot of the best stuff happens in the middle of the case, during depositions and discovery, and so that's like kind of my sweet spot, is endurance and paying attention to stuff that people might have forgotten about, and then all of a sudden you do something that people thought, oh, I thought this was over 6 years ago, and so that's what I love doing.
Eriq, question for you. What Puck News? Why is it called Puck News? Is this a bigger brand that was behind it? Why Puck?
Sure. I don't know if any of you are Shakespeare fans, but Puck was a character, a mischievous character in Midsummer Night's Dream. I think that was the first instance of Puck, but also Puck was the first literary magazine in the United States in the 19th century. There was a pretty famous Puck magazine. And if you ever go to New York City, there's actually a building called the Puck Building where the magazine used to be at. So it has kind of like journalism roots. As for Puck, that's kind of how we see ourselves, as, like an upstart, slightly mischievous, having, a little bit of an arch tone, but, overall just kind of, a knowingness. Yeah. That's basically it. I mean, it's a small, up by its bootstraps right now, but hopefully we're onto good things.
Yeah, and for people that haven't heard of it, go check it out. I mean, they cover everything from Wall Street, Washington, Silicon Valley, Hollywood. It's kind of a little bit of everything. Eriq, thanks for joining us, man. And for anyone who wants to follow Eriq on social media, you can find him at Eriq Gardner, but with a Q, ERIQ Gardner. He's a good follow. I know Adam spoke very positive about you for quite a while, so I'm glad we were able to get you on. And thanks for taking the time to just sit and chat with us for a little bit, man.
Oh, my pleasure. I'm glad you had me.
Courts, man. That's not the easiest thing to follow, because you need to know. It's a hard thing to write about, because you need to know all the ins and outs, the legal words and vocabulary to use. It's you need to know the laws.
Basically, all the things that we never are able to say properly.
What's so funny? I tried writing some story. I did some like kind of reporting for an outlet, and I tried covering the legal stories, the law story, and they were just too difficult. It's hard to understand it. It's hard to.
You say something wrong, it actually has a big consequence, because you have to say legal shit correctly. Yep.
Yeah, but just also, he's a very established writer working at the Hollywood Reporter, which, I think for any sort of publicist, as far as Hollywood publicists, that's the one outlet you need to have the best relationship with, because you want to be in the Hollywood Reporter at all times.
Yep.
Like,
totally agree.
hey, if you're going to be a publicist or going to hire someone, what's your relationship with the Hollywood Reporter? Because it's the only outlet we want to consistently be in, because it shows that majority of the time, it shows that you're working. Hey, I got a new film. I got this project. Yeah, you want to be in that. You want to be in Deadline, and they're not easy to get into. So, but he was covering the other part of it, which is the legal part.
Yeah, and just to be clear, Adam and I have never been in the Hollywood Reporter because we suck.
I have never been. No, it's so funny. One show I was involved in got on Deadline, and they didn't even put my name in it. I was so pissed. I was like, dude, I'm the fucking host. Are you kidding me? You mentioned the show, you mentioned everything, but you don't put my name in it. And honestly, I don't think it's their fault. I think it was the person who did it wanted to make sure my name wasn't on it.
Oh, it's so funny. Well, that was interesting. I hope people got something out of this podcast. Really, I think the thing that really blew my mind was that AI talk and how huge celebrities could use it to their advantage, because we're always talking about how AI is going to kill Hollywood, kill writers, kill all this. And then you think of the flip side of how certain people could use it to their advantage to make more money and spend less time on sets. Really fascinating. Anyway, thank you guys for taking a listen. Make sure you leave us a review. We really appreciate it. Head on over to Apple Podcasts, find our show, scroll to the bottom of the page, leave us a review, 5 stars only. Leave us a few kind words, say something, whether it's your favorite episode or where you're from or whatever. Leave your name so we can give you a little shout out there. And if you guys want to continue this conversation, join our private Facebook page called Off the Record. Search it out, or you can go to the link in our link tree in our Instagram page, or just go HollywoodRaw.com. It'll have a direct link in there to our Facebook page if you're having trouble finding it. And then we'll let you in and you can come join the community. And as we chat about kind of all things entertainment or breaking news, or if you guys just want to ask us questions, it's all in there. You can follow Adam at Adam Glyn. You can follow me at Dax Holt, and you can follow Hollywood Raw on all other platforms, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, all of it. We are out there. We'll see you guys next time.
Bye-bye.
What's up, guys? If you like that video, there's plenty more where that came from.
Make sure you like, subscribe, hit the bell so we can just feed you all the goodness daily.
Hurry up. Come on, let's go.